Well, look at what the cat dragged in today. We have a comedic jack of all trades in the house who doesn't mind a good jacking off joke, I'm sure, or reference, which is a little, he's like, let's get into it on this Wednesday, which is a little bit outside of the box, which we're going to talk about for his typical, social political branding. Let me explain. Okay. We have Michael Loftus in the house. I am so excited because Michael and I have been talking about doing this forever and a day. He is the host of the podcast, The Loftus Party, which I actually had the pleasure of being on. So go get your life right and listen to it immediately. He's a regular on Gutfeld. He had the Freedom to Laugh comedy tour that was on Fox Nation in 2020. He is, again, an extraordinaire, a writer, a commentator. He has been headlining comedy as a stand-up for 20 years, people. Okay, Michael, I can't even keep up with these notes. I mean, you got a girl tongue twisted over here, okay? And his most recent is his Live from Nashville special that's on Fox Nation, which I have a bone to pick with you because I am in Nashville and I did not get the memo. That is for another time, Michael. That's for later. Okay, so Michael Loftus, all about life, liberty, and the pursuit of laughter. You're right of center. You have the Fox Nation, the conservative branding. But with that said, you love some good TNA.
Yes.
Yeah. So Michael Loftus, welcome to Cancel Me, baby. My God, that's the episode.
It's just one big intro, and then we wrap.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is my thesis for today.
It's always crazy. That was a wonderful intro, and now I suddenly need a nap. But it's wild. There's a lot going on there. I'm like, ooh, I'm a hyphenate, and then I just wrote a book.
I mean, can't put you in a box, Michael. And I love to say,
No, you can't.
It is, oh, there it is. Neither stunning nor brave. Oh my God. AKA
Yes.
like women showing their cellulite. No one cares, but I'm sure you have your own interpretation.
That is stunning and brave.
Isn't it? It is just as stunning and brave as I pointed out, our respective makeshift show signs, because, we're entrepreneurs. We are gals and guys on the go, and we just do what we got to do in this bitch. Michael?
You have to do some branding. You're an idiot if you don't, because people
No,
love your show. This is a big opportunity to me. I don't want to squander this. This is like meeting a hot chick at a bar, and you think, oh, my goodness, I'm not going to talk to her. No, you stay and you talk, and you go, here's a t-shirt.
You can't blow it and do
Right.
with you, like what he said and she said, okay? And talking about the she's and the gals at the bar, Michael, there is no one I would rather spend International Women's Day than with you. So
Is it International Women's Day?
it is today.
That's fantastic. Congratulations. What are you doing? How are you celebrating?
Thank you. A uterus identifying, person in the house. I'm celebrating by giving a high five to my uterus. I'm like, you go down there. You did it.
There you go.
And no one tried to eradicate that
That's
today.
the fallopian tubes right there. You're like,
they're crushing it. They're crushing it. But let's talk, because I alluded to this in my, lengthy but necessary intro.
Yes.
I feel like the topic of womanhood, all the above, we know is very divided, is very volatile. But the way I see it, Michael, and this is why I want your view, you have the left over here, or the woke, I would not necessarily left, the far left, the woke, right? It depends on how the breeze hits them that day. If they feel like being a woman, no therapy, no surgeries, no anything, by golly, they're going to be a woman that day, right? But then you have the right, like I look at politics. I don't know if you follow them, but they're the Turning Point, USA's like pop culture platform, right? And they literally posted something today on International Women's Day that was like, as women, we want to play with chickens and breastfeed and be home with our kids all day long. I'm like, Can you all bite me, please, on both sides? So, Michael, how do you see it walking that line?
Well, here's honestly, like I have so many problems with like all of the above, like with all of the above, like
That
with modern feminism, it's like, oh, if you don't want to be a girl firefighter, you must be a bad woman. Like some women want to be nurturing, they want to be moms, and that's awesome. Good Lord
right.
knows we need that.
That's
So
fine.
why doesn't it just mean freedom to choose your own path? Like I don't, it's like all of this shit, uh the argument is just insanely silly now. Like I don't care. If you want to live your life as a woman, that's fantastic. If you're a grown up, I wish you nothing but love. But just do me a favor, try to fool me, right? I'm tired of the dudes in muumuus with full beards going, you didn't use the right pronouns. I'm a girl. Well, like you've got to put off those vibes, dude. You get some titties.
No, exactly. Like at least make us, be convincing. Like pull a Mrs. Doubtfire and at least give us a run for our money in this bitch.
Yes.
My God, it's like you're
Listen,
lazy. You are lazy, and you are not doing women justice with
that's
your
right.
beard and your makeup. No, but
I want a
it's all
surprise.
absurd.
When that dick pops out, I want to be like, who knew?
No, no, really. And like I said, I feel like I gotta tell you, conservatives don't do themselves any favors in this realm. Because, like I said, like, do I need to go on my Instagram and the first thing I see is on politics, like a Little House on the Prairie reboot of literally being in the middle of a farm? Literally the caption says, Michael, I want to pull it up, but in the essence of time, it's literally like, it's a little meme, and it's like, I would rather spend my time playing with chickens and my kids, and the girl's like, give me, for over having a career. That's what it says. And it's to your point. It's like, do your thing, ladies. Like that is fine by me. But do you feel like being so immersed in that world? Is there a part of you that's like, ugh? Like your Instagram, Michael, is like, Michael will post obligatory asses and tits on Valentine's Day. You were like, be mine and anal. So you're so not in that box.
Well, it's something I set out to do when I started the loftusparty.com and the podcast and all that stuff. It's like when people close their eyes and they're told to think of a conservative or think of someone
Yeah.
who's right of center, they immediately go, it's a fat guy in a suit smoking a cigar, gleefully laughing that he's not paying taxes. When I go out and do stand up and I meet people, like the conservatives I know and party with and hang out with are just,
Right.
they just love life. They know how to work
Right.
hard. They know when to play hard, and they're having fun out. Like life is wonderful and it's precious, and literally there is no tomorrow. And if people want to thump their Bible and go, oh no, I can't
Sure.
look at that. That's great. Go with God. Have a great life. But then there's a huge number of people like me who also love life, and they're like, that girl is a smoke show. And
I
check it out,
mean,
there's a new Star Wars movie. It's just like,
I thank you for your service because, before hopping on here, we talked about, how I'm recently moved to the South. It's the most Southern I've lived, and it's a little bit of culture shock. And, here I am in the Bible Belt, like as a Jew, just chilling and, chilling like a villain, right? But you really see this come to life because you always hear about this sort of, and I don't like that conservatives are branded with that stigma and that stereotype, but I have to say
yeah.
you see it come to life because it is this sort of holier than thou morality way of thinking, and this very puritanical, like anything sexuality is bad. We hear it even like with pundits, with the Candace Owens, and I'm like, do you people not have eyeballs and or have sex? Like, do you see someone super hot and it's just like the Sahara down there? How does this anatomy work? I know anatomy is like, again, not
Well,
even a thing anymore, but
isn't that always the recipe for the freakiest of the deakiest? Like
yes.
the
Yeah.
girl the girl who grew up in a real puritanical family,
Yeah.
she's always the one that's like, I need three dudes, right?
No,
like
exactly.
like if you want to raise a hoe, I think that's how you do
At
it.
the hoe down, then it is that is the perfect formula.
Right? And it gives all
Yes.
new meaning to grab a partner, turn them round, drop those pants, and make that sound.
Yes.
Get
Like
your tongue and
God knows
yeah,
what kind
I'll
of
do the
sounds they're
whole
thinking of.
thing.
But it's true when you have that suppressed thing, and it actually applies to, I didn't know this. You talk about geeking out to Harry Potter and how the, how Christians and conservatives, I didn't know this, but how they reacted to it when it first came out. And this whole thing, like I said, applies. We're going to get to that in a minute. But while we're on the theme of women, Michael, I keep things orderly here at Cancel Me Baby. Like, this ain't a hoedown free for all. No. Let's talk about let's talk about Nikki Haley, right? So you were just at CPAC. I want to talk about CPAC as well. But Nikki Haley it's a whole conversation right now, I find, when it comes to sexism on both. It's the same version of this, right? Both sides kind of being two sides of the same coin. So Nikki Haley, you heard about the Don Lemon thing, right? Nikki Haley's 51 and Don Lemon has the ball sack to be like, she's way past her prime. Like, Don, no one cares about your show. So, like, give me a break. But
Yeah.
while that was going on the other side of that, it was around Valentine's Day, and there was a commentator on Tucker Carlson now taking aim at Chelsea Handler, right? Because she's like the extreme feminist, don't need a man. But he goes in on her in the other sexist way. Like, you're the undoing of America. You are going to be a cat lady and unhappy, and women can't do everything men can do. Have you seen them try to back up a truck? Like, bro, I will back my truck up into your house. So, when it comes to that too, like, what is the deal? Am I off base here?
Well, I mean, you need the argument, you need the fight because that's that's the clickbait of it all. Like,
Right.
and I think Chelsea Handler was trolling with that video. Here's my wonderful life without having kids. I wake up, I look out the window, I masturbate a couple times, I go back to bed because I don't have kids. Then I start drinking. So, and I tell you what, I think a lot of women with kids who have a very busy life, they probably looked at that video and went, I bet that's how it is.
I
I
was
bet
just going to say, Michael, you know what? I bet Chelsea Handler masturbating 3 times a day would go along swimmingly with a suppressed conservative who just wants to get freaky. That's the irony. Like, I'm sure they would have a great time in
it's
bed.
it's strange. Yeah. Oh, I think you're gonna have a wonderful time with Chelsea. I'm sure you saw. Did you ever see the video? You ever see the video of her getting her face peed on?
No, but
Yeah,
that's
she's coming out of the
interesting.
ocean. She's on vacation, and I forget it's the dude from American Pie who's like standing off the edge of the boat, and he starts peeing, and then Chelsea Handler just comes up. It's like ha ha ha, and I'm like, go back in the water, go back in the water.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
like the things that is our society in a nutshell, and media, social media trying to get attention, like true shamelessness.
yes,
The limit does not exist of boundaries. And
no,
what it like, did we need to see any of that? Did we?
exactly. And then you're waiting for Chelsea Handler to come out and go, oh, that wasn't me, and then it never happened. Yeah, there was no. So whatever. She's Chelsea Handler. She's doing what she's doing. Good for her. And then Nikki Haley, as far as I'm concerned, like, yeah, she's certainly not past her prime. And I wish her luck in her run for vice president because I
Uh,
think that's all she's doing.
are
There's
you're not a fan, or you are? I'm
there's
trying to
just
read between the
nothing.
lines.
She's the same old. She's trans Jeb Bush. She's just she's
Because she is old school, right? Yeah.
yes, yes. And
Yes.
so she's making a very concerted I'm a woman, I'm a woman of color, and
Color,
then she's like,
right.
I'm the left's worst nightmare because I'm a woman of color, and like we get it.
Right. Right.
But unfortunately, it's all that same old, GOP yawn. She's a yawn fest. I'm sure she's a lovely person too, but
Right.
like,
I'm sure she's a nice lady. You
yeah,
know, all of this, I have to say, just sheds light again on how both sides play to the same thing that they accuse the other of. And it just goes round and round, right? Even the sex thing or the gender, all of that. It's like, again, I'm just gonna summarize here because
Yeah,
my
do it
brain
up.
is like, can't compute. But you have, again, you know, unhinged woke who you have to recognize, but even with children, right? A 5-year-old is like, I feel like being a boy today. And that's transphobic. If you're like, I'm sorry, wait, what? Like, and the whole alphabet police, like if I wanted to play with the alphabet, my alphabet soup, I would go back to kindergarten. Like it's all insanity. But again, it's this orthodoxy you have to follow, or you're transphobic, or like it's bonkers, right? But then
Yeah.
again, you have on the other side of it, again, this very, like we talked about, in the box, wholly pure, what is proper and correct and respectful, and stepping out of that in any way, shape, or form is bad, and neither truly reflect most people, I think.
Well, here's where it goes off the rails for me. It's like we were saying at the top of the show. If you're a grown up and you want to live your life,
Sure.
in a certain way, that's fantastic. It's when they start introducing it to kids.
Right.
That's where I get really motivated to try to stop it. There's
Right.
something really why is it so important for drag performers to go to little kids? Why is it so important to try to encourage kids? And then anybody like a 4-year-old, goes, you know what? I think I'm a girl. Well, let's line you up for surgery. How in the world is that
Right.
healthy for anything or anybody? It's really these are some dark days we live in.
And so there's actually a fascinating piece on this, and I can share it with you. And it was in the publication, The Free Press, that my audience knows. Speaking of masturbating, I get off to at least 5 times a day. But
Really?
there's a new piece in the Free Press, and it was by this woman. Okay, get a load of this. She describes herself as left of Bernie, is married, or maybe not married, is partnered to a trans man. Okay. Can't get more progressive than that. And she wrote a story, I think it was in Seattle. I could be wrong. If so, I stand corrected. But she worked at one of these gender affirming medical facilities. And basically, she was this huge whistleblower because, like I talked about earlier, she realized behind the scenes how there is literally, it is so willy-nilly, and how detrimental it was to kids, like the assessments and or lack thereof, and how the therapist who okayed it was basically employed by the facility, and all, like, the forget the physical aspects, like one young girl who was having surgery or things going on down there, and like bled through, not to get TMI, but her
Yeah.
vaginal lining got, this is the shit people need to know though. Like her vaginal lining got so thin, she bled through towels, right? So it talks about all this. And it's just so eye-opening because and she within her organization got pushback. They wouldn't listen to her. Even she's like, this is not okay. So she, thankfully was, like I said, the whistleblower, but it's really eye-opening about the shit going on, right?
Yeah, it's very, like, it doesn't even make sense if you look at it from the left's perspective. Because they're talking about, oh, gender fluid, gender neutral. I'm not bi, meaning I'm not cis, rather, where there's only male or female. So a little kid says, oh, I'm going to be a girl. So why not wait and see how that child develops,
Sure.
instead of going, no, you have to choose. You have to choose. You're either a boy or a girl. That's it. There's only two. And then these are the same people who go, oh, there's way more than two genders. Like, it makes your head hurt.
It's also a slap in the face, like this whole identity politics. I think about it like it's not that long. It was not that long ago that on a federal level, gay people could be out in the streets, making out, getting married, all these things. And now suddenly, if right, we're eradicating that, well, then what was the point of all of women's rights, right? It's International Women's Day, gay rights. Like, what is the basis of any of that? If it's like what Sam Smith says, like, love his music, but you have no business, sir, being on TV, and Michael, wait for it, calling fishermen fisher them. Okay, this is real, and this in fact happened. So it just eradicates all of that. And it's like, what is the point if no one really has identity at all? Make it make
Well,
sense.
what is the unfortunately, I think it just makes us completely weak as a society. It's
Right.
just a great weakening of everyone in society.
Right.
When you're literally questioning something as very basic, when guys start becoming more like girls and girls start becoming more like guys, then it's all just this fluid, nebulous,
Right.
meh. And like testosterone levels have been steadily dropping since the 70s, and no one knows why, and no one's doing anything about it. And now, like, our population is in danger of cratering.
Mm-hmm.
We're just not making enough kids. So,
Mm-hmm.
whatever we're doing now, I think is probably a bad idea. And we should
It
look
is
to
not
reverse.
good. The writing is on the wall, and he doesn't mean the loftusparty.com or the cancel me baby logo. It is not looking good.
Right.
Um, speaking of what I love about you, Michael, is that, and we've talked about this, but that you can see through all the nonsense. And when it comes to women, like, obviously you appreciate women for being like both the brains and the beauty, like posting the, like I said, obligatory ass picture to your Instagram every now and then, love to see it. But when we're talking about that trans piece I was talking about, so I recently, in an endeavor that was scary for me, launched an OnlyFans, because my whole message of women, doing both things. And for me, this was really stepping, into it. And
Yes.
so my whole mission with it, what I do and why it's so different, is because I'll put up like a sexy photo that's provocative, but there's also a very clever caption about, society, politics, cancel culture, right? That ties it all together. And so it's so funny because you talk about, the, de-escalation of men, just like in them going in the toilet. But it's so funny, Michael, because a friend of mine, I told her, I was like, it's scary for me. It's uncharted territory. And she's like, I'm sure you're going to get all these like misogynistic comments from men, which they've all been wonderful. They're like, you go, girl. But my favorite, and what I bring it back to, is the trans piece. It encapsulated everything I'm trying to do, because I get this DM, right? And it's like, super hot, like, yeah, show the tits. In the same breath, it's like, by the way, love the piece you shared on trans kids and how detrimental the procedures are that are being swept under the rug. I'm like, good, I can resign, goal achieved. But I
That's
feel
right.
like that's your jive too.
Here's there. Okay. So it's all encompassing. It's beauty. It's beauty. It's like, it's what I like in the human form, the ideals. It same goes for architecture. Like buildings now are horrible. I'm a classical beauty type of person, and there shouldn't be any shame in digging that. And I'm sure there's a ton of dudes out there, you know, that are
Mike,
in the same boat.
yeah. And I think it goes into what you said earlier. I mean, I'm learning so much from this experience and experiment about the male psyche and about all of it. But I think it really goes into what you said earlier. I think people just want to be free. I think
Yes.
people just want to be liberated. I mean, I shot, for example, with a huge, very well-known photographer. I shot an episode of my show down here. He's photographed Dolly Parton, Taylor Swift, Emma Stone, Garth Brooks and Dunn, you name it, right?
Yeah.
And I was telling him about my OnlyFans, and again, why it's so scary. You never know, because people could judge you, and it's a whole thing. And he was not only so impressed, but he said to me, I wish I would love, we were talking about this, like beauty in the female form. And he's like, I wish nothing more than to like go to Paris, photograph like nude with like the beauty of nudity and all that. But he talked about kind of being confined to this community of, Christian and, religious, again, the puritanical of worldview. And it's like, people just want to be free.
Yes. And I think this is a great advice, and like fantastic for you on the OnlyFans. And I want to ask you, like, what your boundaries are there.
Yeah.
And I remember when Miley Cyrus came out with her Wrecking Ball video.
Oh my God, I was
Remember
just
that?
watching it yesterday. How funny. Yeah.
So so I was talking about it on the podcast, and at the time there was a woman who was co-hosting with me, and she was just mortified. She was mortified, and I'm like, "Are you out of your mind?" She is an absolute smoke show, and God willing, when she's
Mhm.
like 85 years old, she's gonna
Hopefully.
dial up that fucking video and just be like, "Look at me." Like
Right.
I encourage every woman go out, get those boudoir photos, take those nudes,
Right.
go to a nude beach, and you're like, oh no, I don't know. I swear to God, you're not going to get better looking tomorrow, and unless you're doing something crazy, you're not going to be better looking in 10
Yeah.
years. You're going to look back at those photos that you took last week and go, wow, I was a
Yeah.
hottie, you know? And so
Totally.
celebrate. It's really funny. My mom passed away at the very ripe old age. And so we're going through, and by her
Oh, I'm
bedside,
sorry.
by her, well, we were tracking down the killer, and evidently it was you.
Right. No,
Uh,
right. Exactly. This is all my
no,
cover up.
she passed away so peacefully. She had a wonderful life, and she just,
Yeah.
but by her bedside table was this little tiny picture of her in a bikini on the beach,
See?
and like she was a
Awesome.
little cutie patootie smoke show, and it was that, and she left that picture out there. She was looking at that
Oh,
every
she
day.
knew. She knew.
Yes,
Good
yes.
for
So
her. Goals.
yeah, it was fantastic. So with your OnlyFans, like, so what are your, where do you draw the line? Are you going nipple? Are you covering provocatively?
So it's been the latter. It's been very suggestive. And my rule of thumb is I don't want to show anything that I wouldn't have shown in Playboy.
Okay.
Um, but again, it's really stepping into this. And oddly enough, the revival of Pam Anderson has been inspiration to me because obviously we saw everything of her and she's still this like standard of female beauty and the business like respects and adores her. And for me, it's really again like realizing because I always was like, yeah, I did the Playboy feature of showing both, and yeah, and I always talk this talk, but really walking the walk because I feel like OnlyFans is a whole other thing where I thought about, will people not want to work with me? Will they judge me? I'm so proud of the journalist and thinker I am and writer. Will it cheapen what I do? And if
Yeah.
anything, and I have to say this, it has like given me a pep in my step. Like it's so freeing and empowering because it's like, right, I can do this. And then on the other end of it, I love surprising people because they'll see it and think one thing. And then next thing I know, they want my input on social issues, pop culture, politics on their own business. They're like, could we sit down? Not because of the OnlyFans, but the whole thing. They're like, could you sit down? I'd love your expertise on, given your extensive background in media and content creation and all this. So it's
It's
just,
fantastic.
it's
It's
really,
fantastic.
yeah, but it is still scary. Even before I go to post something, I'm like, this is it. Then it's there. Then it's
That's great.
there.
Now, but now, how often do you update?
I try to post every day, if not like
Nice.
Monday through
You're a
Friday. Yeah.
champ. You're a champ.
I
Because
try.
if it was me, I'd be so lazy about it. My OnlyFans would be every day with like me getting out of the shower, just putting on my towel.
No, no, I know. I have a whole artillery of photos and things. And I will tell you, I'm learning so much about the male psyche and how you guys think. Like that's another fascinating part of it.
We
Cause
are completely visual. Just a quick note on Pam Anderson.
yes.
Uh, I met her a couple of times before I moved out of LA, and that girl is magic. That girl
Yeah.
is magic.
Yeah.
It's
I get that
undeniable.
sense.
Like you're like,
Yeah.
okay, so my buddy's like, well, you should meet Pam because he and her were very good friends. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And like inside, you're like, I'm ready for this. I'm ready for this. And then she's a delight. She is
Right.
a sexy, sexy delight. She's the human embodiment of Tinkerbell. You think
I
she's gonna
loved
take off her shirt and wings are gonna spread off,
no,
and she's gonna
literally.
fly around naked,
She,
making your life better.
she farts and it's just a rainbow that comes out and cupcakes and no, but I
I think they're spearmint. Uh, I
yes,
think it smells like wintergreen lifesavers.
she's bringing Tic Tacs back, like it's a whole thing. But I love, and
Which
I
someone should
actually
make that.
I
It
know.
seems like there should be like a breath freshener for your butthole. Like if you know you're going to be with someone that evening and they're like, "Oh, they might be eating my
It
ass.
might be
I just want
going
to make sure I'm
down.
fresh." Shouldn't there be like a little like lifesavers should get in on that? Maybe a certs.
I think that I'm going to take this part out. We're going to take this shit to Shark Tank and we are literally going to be like Jeff Bezos who we're about to be billionaires because this is a genius idea.
Right?
But
Like that's how I knew I had COVID. Like I had the Omicron a couple like 2 years ago, like right
uh-huh.
before, and I'm like, oh, I can't smell or taste anything. And then my wife is like, I can't smell or taste anything either. And I'm like, we should eat ass. Like now is the perfect
That
time.
is so, most people like tried to smell bleach, but Michael, I like your, your method even better. Really get
It
in
was a
there.
fun night. It was a
I'm
fun
sure
night.
it was a night to
COVID, the
remember.
gift that keeps giving.
No, thank you, Fauci, but not because really. How about Michael? But to put a cap on that, I love how I think Pam Anderson is also a smart lady. I learned in her new documentary, she's a writer. She's a great writer, but I also love that she speaks her mind and cancel culture will come for her. And she just is like a Canadian, like a cool Canadian mom, like that mom everyone knows who just like tells it how it is and doesn't care. So I love that. And I love
Yeah.
everything she represents and what you experienced of her as well. Like I always think the beauty can be the vehicle to like the cunningness and the like getting
It
shit done.
is.
It's the best.
It
It's a
it really
seduction.
is. And it always like we have a history of this for thousands of
Yeah.
years. Thousands of years. And like Cleopatra
Yeah.
was like the very first one to truly rock it. She was on the ropes, she was in exile. The Romans had come in. This Julius Caesar dude was sitting on the throne. So she told her people, I'm gonna take off my clothes. You're gonna roll me up in this rug and then just unroll me in front of Caesar. I'm gonna be like shebang.
No, genius. Genius.
Completely.
I posted about her today actually saying just that. It's like she dressed seductively, not even because she knew. She was like, this is the most efficient way to fucking make shit happen and get into their Neanderthal brains. It's go time, right? And
Yes.
so
Yes.
that's what's so epic. I was gonna divert to Fauci. There's like so much to get into with you. We have CPAC, Pam Anderson mesmerizing us. Before Fauci and how people are still obsessed with the vaccine, like it's, they've never seen anything like it clearly. And like, I'm convinced that these people jerk off to the vaccines just as much as they jerk off to January 6th footage. But you talked before, something I had a pin in my head is the drag queens and with kids and with all this impacting kids. Now, there's an elephant in the room that I want to call it how I see it. And this is what gets into, my girl J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter, right? Is that I do feel like conservatives have this tendency to hop on any sort of thing as a conspiracy designed to corrupt America's kids. And I feel like it's exacerbated perhaps now more than ever. I didn't know this, but there's a new podcast that I'm obsessed with. I can't say enough good things about it, where J.K. Rowling now is finally having her piece. And it's a really deep dive into her and feminism and trans and all this, right? But it talks about, I didn't know this when Harry Potter first came out, how problematic it was, not only for conservative commentators, but also in the church and religious leaders, and how they had a problem with it, witchcraft and fantasy and, demonic this and that. And, it seems like, again, that just reiterates different versions of itself today. I'm not saying there's somewhere it has to draw a line. Like, do I need a drag queen in a G-string twerking in front of my 3-year-old that I don't have? No. But like, right? It's like, okay, but is it a little bit of an over exaggeration sometimes?
It always like makes me laugh when I remember that now as you're bringing it up.
All right, everybody. It is the voice of God, Goddess here. I hope that you are enjoying part 1 of my talk with the fantastic Michael Loftus. I am obsessed with him. And in part 2, we get into more of the politics regarding all of the Dominion, the Trump crazy CPAC, comedy and cancel culture, and all of this good stuff. So we will see you back for part 2. And I can't wait. I'll see you there.